Hi, it's Summer, and these are all the books that I read in March. I think I read 9 books, so I feel like it was a pretty successful reading month. The first book that I read in March was Beautiful Darkness. I have no idea how to pronounce the author's name. My friend Kayla sent this to me for my birthday, and I was really excited to read it. I thought this cover is just like so cute. It looks like it's gonna be maybe like cozy fantasy or something. This is some of the most unhinged horror I've ever read, and I had no idea going in. Like, there's truly some kind of like disturbing imagery and things that happen in this. I would be really careful going into this, especially if you thought it was going to be like a cute little graphic novel like I did. If you're a horror fan already though, I think that you might really like this. I gave this one 4 stars. On Goodreads, I said this was unhinged. The illustrations were so pretty and whimsical and then would suddenly turn horrific and gross. I've never read anything like it. This felt like a complete fever dream and borderline nonsensical at times, but in the best way. After that, I read Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. I received this as an ARC, and I gave it 2.5 stars. This is my second book by this author, and I'm just kind of starting to think that they might not be for me. This one follows a team of planet exploration people. It's their job, they get paid for it, and they go off on these long-term expeditions to explore other planets and collect samples and stuff. The company that they work for recently gained a new planet that was previously owned by a different company, and when the team gets there to investigate and try to pick up where the other team left off, things kind of start to go wrong for them. For this one, I said this was a 2-star book for me up until the 80% mark. The horror really delivered at the end of the story, which is why it's a 2.5 instead of a 2, but it just took too long to get there. I didn't enjoy the pacing, and I felt that the book could have been shortened and had the same impact. I also didn't enjoy the writing. Some of the things that I did like were the atmospheric setting and the creativity with the truth behind what was really going on the planet. I do feel like this book did have a good kind of different twist on an alien planet kind of trope, but I'm really not kidding when I say that basically nothing happened for most of the book. There's also this disease that's kind of like prevalent in the book. The main character that we're following is some kind of like psychiatrist or something, but she wants to go and help on this exploration trip because she has like a lot of knowledge in this field of this disease, and it's basically just depression with like seeing things. And I guess it happens when you're like out on these trips and stuff like that. It just felt kind of weird. I wasn't really sure why the author was trying to like rebrand something that is already kind of a thing, unless I just like read into it wrong or something. I just thought that that aspect of the book just like wasn't interesting and didn't really add anything. The premise of this one initially had me so excited to read it, but I think this might be the last book that I read from this author. After that, I read Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Yvette, I'm so sorry. Yvette is like one of the main people that really made me want to read this, and I didn't like it. Or I guess it's not like the worst thing I've ever read, but I just had really high hopes going into it. I gave this one 2 stars. This one had so much going on in it that I don't even know if I can remember a synopsis. It says, Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenders, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty, until Miriam takes matters into her own hands. Hardening her heart, the young woman sets out to claim what is owed and soon gains a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold. When an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the king of the Starrock, grim fey creatures who seem more ice than flesh, Miriam's fate and that of 2 kingdoms will be forever altered. So this book is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and it follows a lot of different characters. On Goodreads, I said, I'm so sad that I didn't like this more. I really enjoyed the first quarter of the book, but the rest of it was just confusing and too long. It needed to be at least 100 pages shorter. I think if I would have physically read the book instead of only listening to the audio, I would have been able to keep track of details and differentiate characters better. The audiobook narrator did the same voice for every character, so it was hard to tell whose perspective I was reading. I do really enjoy Naomi Novik's writing style though. I do feel like in this one it got kind of lost with all the other details and stuff going on, but I really liked the atmosphere of this book. I felt like that really came across. I would say to give this one a try if you already like Naomi Novik, if you like fantasy retellings, and if you read it physically and maybe kind of keep like a character map or something. I really, really, really wish that I liked this more. After that, I decided to reread a favorite, and that was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Around this time of year, every year, I end up rereading one of Sarah J. Maas's books, or a few of them. I don't know what it is about this time of year, but it just makes me want to revisit her books and her characters. I started this in the middle of us moving to our new apartment. I just wanted something easy and comforting and familiar while I was kind of doing this big transition, and something that I didn't have to pay as close of attention to because I already knew what was going on. And this was the perfect thing for that. This time around with rereading this, I actually completely listened to the graphic audio that's on Everand, and it's such a fun way to experience the story. It's full cast with sound effects and music, and I just had the best time. The more that I reread this series, I kind of think that I like Silver Flames best out of all of the books, including Akamath, which feels blasphemous to say, but I love this book and the characters that it follows so much, and it was just the perfect thing for me to be reading at the time. This is 5 stars still. It definitely still holds up every single time that I reread it. After that, I picked up The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. I gave this one 5 stars, which I kind of had a feeling that it would be, but I was really nervous going into it. I didn't want to put too much pressure on it to be like a new all-time favorite or something, but I feel like it kind of is. This book is a mix of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which is my favorite book, and The Cartographers by Punk Shepherd, which is another one of my favorite books. It has the portal fantasy of The Starless Sea mixed with the secret society aspect of The Cartographers. This book follows a woman named Cassie who works in a bookshop. One day she's gifted this mysterious book called The Book of Doors. It promises Cassie that any door is every door. You just need to know how to open them. So with this book, she can travel pretty much anywhere. So it's obviously very valuable and very sought after by a lot of different people. Some of them are not very good. Her best friend and roommate Izzy kind of gets wrapped up into all of this with her. There's also a character named Drummond Fox that is a librarian, and he kind of comes into the story as well. They need to protect the Book of Doors, and they're also kind of on the run. For this one, I really loved all of the characters and how everything was connected. It was so magical, and it made me feel so many things. It made me feel horror and disgust, but also made me feel like so many heartwarming feelings. It almost made me cry a couple of times. There are just so many interesting and unique things that this book does, and I also really enjoyed the writing style, and I also really liked the audiobook, so I would highly recommend the audio if you're able to get your hands on it. I'm actually pretty sure that it's on Everand. I think that's where I listened to it. It's just so good. If you like contemporary fantasy, books about books, portal fantasy, found family, if any of that sounds like it's up your alley, you 100% need to give this book a try. These next 2 books I read for the Bows & Books readathon, which is my readathon that I hosted. I have a vlog for it if you want to go check out any more like in-depth thoughts and stuff into these books that I'm going to talk about. This first one is Rainbow Volume 1 by Sunny and Gloomy. This cover is so cute. It has like all of my favorite imagery on it. This one is queer and set in high school. The main character that we're following is Boo. She has a very active imagination, and she often gets kind of carried away in her daydreams. She's also kind of dealing with a really tough home life. This character is named Mimi. They're new to Boo's school, and they kind of form a friendship that might turn into something else later on. I gave this one 4 stars. You all probably know by now though that I have a hard time rating graphic novels lower than a 4 or a 5. So honestly, if I'm like really thinking about it and being a little bit harsher to give it like a true rating, I think this would be closer to a 3 star. On Goodreads, I said this was really cute, but also had some deeper and darker elements to it. Beautiful art as well, but overall kind of unsatisfying. Even though there will be more volumes in this series, it felt like this first installment needed a little bit more to make me feel connected to the story and the characters. If you're interested in this one, I would recommend trying it out for free on Webtoon, where it was posted originally before it got published. There's also more content there than was in this first volume, so I will definitely continue reading it there. I'll put the Webtoon link in the description so you can go check it out if you want to. I feel like this one has really awesome potential, but also I kind of don't want to like wait around for the next volumes or pay a lot of money per volume if I can just go read it on Webtoon. I can really see this one though having really great character development. The art style and color palette is just so cute. I would recommend to keep your eye on this one and to go try it out for free. I would skip buying a physical copy though, unless you just really want to have it on your shelves. I'll definitely continue on in the series, but like I said, I'll just do it online. After that, I read a poetry collection. This is What Kind of Woman by Kate Baer. This was her debut poetry collection, and this is the second collection that I've read from her. I really love her poetry. I feel like her poetry is right in between Instagram poetry and traditional poetry, where the poems don't go on for pages, and they're a little bit easier to relate to and understand, and that's the kind of poetry that I really like, is what I'm finding. So if you're wanting to get into poetry, or you're already into poetry but you feel like Rupi Kaur is too simplified and other poetry is just like too long and dense, I feel like this is the perfect place to kind of maybe try. This collection focuses on feminism and being a woman, diet culture, marriage, and motherhood. There were so many awesome poems in this collection. I got a lot of clips of my favorite poems from this collection in my vlog. I wanted to read this poem though. It's kind of the main one that I keep going back to. It's called Nothing Tastes as Good as Skinny Feels. Unless you count your grandmother's cake, hand mixed while she waits for the sound of your breath at the door. Or if you consider the taste of the sea, arms raised while you enter, salt at your lips. Or maybe you've forgotten the taste of a lover, your mouth on his skin. I ask, have you ever tasted the cool swill of freedom, the consuming rush of a quiet, radical love? And I love that because I hate the phrase, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And she's just like beautifully listing out a bunch of things that do taste better than being skinny or caring about diet culture. And I just love that. After that, I read The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. I gave this one 3 stars. This one is a paranormal fantasy set in current day. It follows these 2 doctors that have to fake date. It's basically Grey's Anatomy, but with werewolves. For this one I said, this was a fun, silly time that I didn't take too seriously, but it was exactly what I was wanting at the time I picked it up. There was a lot about this that was cringe. The whole going into heat thing, like, I just didn't get that. And some of the dirty talk around like nodding and stuff. But I actually felt like the main conflict in this one was super well done. I wish that more romance books would take notes from what this author did with the kind of 3rd act things that were going on. This is kind of more of what I thought Bride by Allie Hazelwood was going to be. This one was a lot more like serious. I still really liked this one though. I think I gave this one like 3.5 or 4 stars. But if you just want like a sillier, more kind of fun time of this book, I would definitely recommend The Fake Mate. It's not like a mind-blowing romance or anything, but I thought it was something kind of fun and different. And then the last book that I read in March was Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked it. I got the audiobook for this one as an ARC, but I think it's kind of the same thing as Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, where it was independently published before and then it got republished by a traditional author, so they kind of like re-released it even though it had already kind of been out in the world, because I'm pretty sure I had this saved on like Kindle Unlimited at one point. I also really enjoyed the audiobook for this one. I thought it was really well done and I could really tell which characters were speaking because they talked a little bit differently. This one follows Raina and Cant. I can't remember how the audiobook pronounced her name, but Raina is a private guard for this queen that nobody likes. The queen is just like terrible and treats people terribly. And then Cant is the most powerful mage in existence. It says, but after an assassin takes Raina hostage, she decides she's thoroughly done of risking her life for a self-centered queen. Meanwhile, Cant has been waiting for a chance to flee responsibility, all the better that her girlfriend is on board. So this book follows a relationship that's already established, and it's a really healthy relationship in my opinion. They're so cute together. So they run away together to this kind of smaller town and they're setting up a book and tea shop, which is just the absolute coziest thing ever. It's really sweet to see the town embrace them. I loved hearing about them kind of like setting up their shop. This definitely has a lot more kind of like action-y stuff in it though, and I kind of wanted more of just like the cozy setting up the shop vibes. I also felt like the world building and the politics were pretty easy to understand and keep up with. This one is the first in a series and I'm really excited to continue in it. This book is so similar to Legends and Lattes. I mean, it's different enough that you don't feel like you're reading the same book, but if you liked Legends and Lattes, I really think that you'll love this one as well. Those are all the books that I read in March. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book that you read in March was. Also, if you made it to the end of the video, leave a tulip emoji. Thank you so much for watching though, and I will see you in the next one.
Appalachian sunrise.